it popped into my head. I've been meaning to ask you since. You were talking early on, I think, about the Bledington Church and when people got married there. It suddenly occurred to me that even though the Cotswolds is a great place as well, and all of those things are true that we've just said, is rural crime a problem? Because I know that in lockdown, particularly, there's two things that spring to mind. I know the NFU was saying that farm and rural crime has gone sky high. Certainly, I read a headline that said that. It has to be said, I didn't read the article because it was on my phone and I was doing something at the time. But I also saw, I can't remember where it was. It was in the UK that there was a spate of church break-ins where they'd taken windows and old and stuff from the altar. I hope, or at least around here, we haven't had a problem with that or anything like that. Have we had much of an issue with church or rural crime where you are? Or?
Well, about 2 years ago now, Bledington, St. Leonard's had their roof stolen, the lead roof.
People, that happens quite regularly, and it always astounds me to figure out how it must have come in the night. I assume
it came in the night, and they probably left the neighborhood, but everyone thought, must be the wind. The Sanctus bell went off as they were doing their business. But people thought nothing of it until in the morning. The roof is gone.
It must be such a straight. You wake up and there's just no roof on the church. I mean, yeah. What do you do in that situation? I mean, not a lot you can do, really, I suppose. But
no. So the trouble with stealing the roof was, they get, I don't know, a few bob for the metal, but the damage that then happens as a consequence of having no roof goes into the thousands. So when we had to replace the roof, I think it came to something like £50,000, and insurance paid for only half of it. But by the time we had put up protective coverings, temporary coverings, the rain had come through and the snow, and it had damaged centuries-old paint murals. The damage that happens is far more than what you would get for the metal. So we then replaced the roof with stainless steel and marked it. This is stainless steel. It's not worth a lot.
Yeah, but it's always a situation though, isn't it? I mean, often, even when we had our tractor nicked as well, they actually only stole half of it, basically. I mean, they left the attachments, they left various different bits around the place. So in reality, that tractor in the form that they stole it is hardly even worth them stealing it. So in fact, well, maybe not hardly worth. That's probably a bit of an exaggeration. I don't imagine they'll be paying tax on anything they sell, but it's, but you know what I mean? It becomes slightly strange to do it, but then to replace it for the owner. I mean, it's not only that, but it's also where you'll have to, your occupation is required, where it's the terrorism side of things as well. It's not just the fact that you've had your tractor nicked or you've had your dog stolen, which is happening a lot at the minute as well.
Yeah.
But it's the fact that you're then not constantly on the lookout every night for every noise, and you don't get your sleep, or you have to replace your tractor, as you say, or the church, which costs more than it was before. And that side of things, which I think is the worst part of robbery. If it was something which you knew that, if you knew the person who was robbing you somehow, even though that's obviously unrealistic, and you knew it was just they were coming in once because they wanted your tractor and they were never going to bother you again, it wouldn't even be so bad. That's I think the worst part.
Yeah, I think that's the thing. It's the difference in the impact of the crime. In that, out here you're so far from like the police. It's not just down the road, and one of the things that's etched in my mind was the case of that farmer. Was it in Norfolk? Who went to jail for shooting an intruder.
Maybe, yeah.
Not understanding how unsafe it can feel out in the rurals when you are being burgled.
Yeah, especially when you're elderly as well. I mean, I think he was quite old, wasn't he? And the guy who was robbing was in his 30 or whatever.
Yeah. So I think that's the impact of the crime on people and their peace of mind. So yeah, you will get here in Bledington, we've had people going around stealing dogs, and we've had a bicycle stolen. That was a crime wave.
That was two things. Yeah, that's the worst it's ever been. I think actually, I used to live in a little place. Actually, I don't know if I should mention the village, but I should probably do it anyway. I used to live in a place called Stonesfield, and there was at least rumor, I don't know if it was true or not, that per capita, for like 2 or 3 weeks when I was young there, it became the most crime-ridden place in the UK. You know, some tiny little Oxford village. And apparently because it's something to do with, I mean, this is again all rumor. I mean, if anyone's here listening from Stonesfield and has got different ideas, I apologize. But the rumor goes that the police found like a brothel in one of the houses and arrested like 50 people. And then they found someone hiding a load of drugs, and another one arrested another group of people there. And there was a load of robberies, and there was a couple of houses down the road who we knew the people there, and they were taken away as well. So for about a 2 or 3 week period, in a village of about 500 people, they'd made about 50 or 60 arrests from these things. I mean, again, it was all good and well to tell that to people in the pub because it made a good story, but I don't know if it was actually true. Maybe Bledington has that. I think actually also in Bledington, though, you've got another issue, is that you're right on the border, aren't you? Are you Oxfordshire or Gloucestershire?
We're Gloucestershire geographically, but posturally we are Oxfordshire.
Right, exactly. I thought that. So you are literally like straddling the border, and also because the Gloucestershire-Oxfordshire border is also the border of the Thames Valley and the Cherwell Police. Cotswold Police? Who are the police on that side?
I don't know actually, but yeah, it's one of those like, where do you go for the police?
And also they never patrol there, because if they're in Chipping Norton, they're obviously not going to go towards the border unless they're called to Bledington. And if they're in Stowe, they're not going to come to Bledington unless they're called there. So you've got that sort of gap between the middle where unless they're called there, are they really going to go right to the edge of their boundary? Maybe they do. Maybe I don't know, but
who knows? But we've had sirens through the village on occasion, which is always exciting.
That's how you know it's countryside, when you hear a siren and you have to go out and see what it is, and what's that?
Whereas when we went to London for a week, it was can't even sleep because all the sirens all the time.
Yeah, it's the same in all the cities. It is one thing you do notice actually, because even when they go past here, they turn their sirens off, which is quite nice. It's to not make so much noise, which is a bit better. Well, certainly for me, I don't know, but
but yeah, it's interesting. Even though there's been a rise in crime, I suppose, it's still generally safe. I've often gone around old rural churches just having a look, and you'll be surprised to see they've got their 2nd edition Great Bible out in the open just like that. It's like, you know how much this thing is worth, and you've just got it out there. It's like, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we never know. Maybe they've got it insured, so we hope. I don't know if there's any other way, but yeah, I mean, there we go, guys. As well, if you ever see a church fund raising for the roof, you've heard it here and other stuff. It's not just for the back pocket. It definitely is worth donating as well if you want to see restoration of things. Rural crime is, in its effect, is costly. Certainly costly to the churches, which probably not in the best of nick anyway, given their age.
Yeah, I suppose that's one of the other things actually that's a challenge in rural ministry, where you have smaller congregations, but buildings that need high maintenance because they're not suited for modern life.
Yeah. I mean, some of them actually had underfloor heating before it's fashionable, but I mean, that was built years and years and years ago. It's still cold. When I go to in Chipping Norton, when I go for their Remembrance Day, we go there, and it's still, I don't know, it starts off really, really cold, and then as all the people come in and heat up, and the underfloor heating goes on, it does get a bit warmer, but that's what they always notice.